Thank you. I know there are a lot of people in here. We have quite a few bills up for public hearing. Our first bill is Senate Bill 5284 concerning truth in music advertising, and then we'll go on to the Lieutenant Governor and to speak on his bill. Thank you. Okay, Allison.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, for the record, my name is Allison Mendiola, committee staff. Before you is Senate Bill 5284. This bill has to do with live music performance advertising. Under this bill, promoting or conducting a live musical performance through advertising that claims or implies an affiliation with the performing musical group and a recording group is prohibited unless any of the following apply. The performance group is the owner and federal registrant of the service mark used. At least one member of the performing group was previously a member of the recording group and has a legal right to use the name or the affiliation to the recording group. The performance is promoted as a tribute to the recording group, and the performance group's name is not so similar to the recording group so as to mislead the public. The recording group is authorized the performance, or the performance is not taking place in Washington. There is a civil penalty of at least $5,000 up to $15,000 per violation, and actions for civil penalties or other injunctive relief can be brought by the AG or a city or county prosecutor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions of Allison? Senator Keiser.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for hearing this bill today. I heard about this problem last summer when there was apparently an event in Everett where the coasters, the drifters, the platters, or whoever they were that night, purported to perform, but it turns out, even though people bought tickets for the coasters and the drifters and the platters, that it was really a phony group that was performing, and none of the original members were there at all. Just this last January, another phony platters group performed in Oregon. So this is an ongoing problem, and what is the problem is really bait and switch for consumers. They buy a ticket for the platters, but when they get to the performance, there's nobody from the platters performing. So you miss the music and the experience, and you just purchased a full price ticket. In addition, the performers miss out because they're not getting payment for their talent and for their experience and for their own reputation. So in all ways, I think it would help the consumer and it would help the industry to make sure that there's truth in music, and that's what this bill hopes to do.
Very interesting bill, Senator Keiser. Thank you for bringing it forward. And I was just thinking it's timely that Lieutenant Governor is here today with his love of music and his being a performer himself, but of course not impersonating others for purpose of monetary gain. We have two individuals signed up, Gretchen Christopher and John Bowman.
Maybe John could come forward.
Hi there. I think Gretchen is parking the car at this point, but
okay.
I would normally go first anyway because I'm John Bauman. I'm chair of the Truth in Music Committee of the Vocal Group Hall of Fame. I'm also better known probably as Bowser, formerly of Sha Na Na. So, you know, the guy who does this. That was that. Just to get that out of the way. But I really am here in my capacity as chair of the Truth in Music Committee. We've had this bill passed now in 27 states, and we have about 9 or 10 more working this legislative session, including the great state of Washington. We know for a fact that the great state of Washington needs this bill because we know that there have been abuses specifically in this state, and Senator Keiser has already proved to be one of the most astute and accurate of our legislative sponsors in any state by having really full command of this issue. She described this very well. This is exactly what the problem is. It's a sophisticated form of identity theft that has somehow grown up and not been able to be stopped other than by this additional piece of legislation, which ensures, first and foremost, that consumers are not duped when they pay these are really tribute shows, in sheep's clothing. They need to be designated as tribute shows, and this bill ensures that they will be, so that the public knows what it's paying to go see and what its expectation is. And of course, it's going to be a cheaper ticket, consequently, if it's a tribute show. And in the meantime, the authentic people are sitting at home while the tribute groups are performing under their names. The real guys are sitting at home wanting to work that night. And unfortunately, this has become a little bit of a cottage industry where it's all over the country. The night that these three groups were performing in Everett, they were also performing at the Sahara Hotel in Las Vegas at the same time, 8 p.m. Everett, Washington, 8 p.m. Sahara Hotel in Las Vegas, 8 p.m. in Tampa, 8 p.m. in Springfield, Massachusetts, and it's become a little bit of an industry, which is why it's been very important to try to put a stop to it. And simply put, the imposter groups need to yip, 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 boom, 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 get a job. So the Truth in Music bill, in short, right, in synopsis, we might as well have a little lightened up hearing, we understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This will be probably one of the less contentious items of the day. It's been pretty much bipartisan and, or nonpartisan. Everybody recognizes the need for it. And you should also know that enforcement has been good in the states that have the bill so far. We've been doing this for about 3 years, and we have put a stop to this in large part. The groups that have been doing this tend to then run to states where the Truth in Music bill doesn't exist. Hence, you have a show, I'll be in Oregon tomorrow, but hence you have the show in Everett and the show in, the show in Oregon recently, because the door has been closed in many states, and which is why you guys need this. And it's been a wonderful experience for me. It really has nothing to do with me or my old group, Sha-Na-Na. We're fine with regard to all of this, but I've watched the old-timers suffer with this. The coasters, the drifters, the platters have been the primary victims, and of course the public. And, especially in this climate in our country these days, where, we've witnessed such tremendous changes recently, and I think changes that we can all be proud of as Americans. And I have to feel, as someone who's lived this entire generation, that somehow this wonderful music, this fixes the problem for everybody, for the future as well. But the problem is worst at this point for the real old-timers. And their music was music that, the coasters, the drifters, the platters, was really music that changed our country. That brought races together in the 50s and the early 60s at a time when, people were still drinking from different drinking fountains in a way that only music could. And, to watch them go through this kind of struggle at the end of their careers, to have imposters take their legacy and their work and their applause has been really heartbreaking. So I'm glad that with your help, we'll be able to put a stop to this, maddening injustice.
Thank you, Mr. Bauman. I have a question.
Yes.
Am I correct in assuming that a musical comedy such as The Four Seasons that was here last year, or the year and a half before, depicting Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons,
right.
their live,
Jersey
their music,
Boys.
Jersey Boys, would
Right.
not be covered under this act?
Absolutely. One thing has absolutely nothing to do with the other. Musical comedies, the issue is that's really a copyright issue. This is really a trademark issue fundamentally. And one thing has absolutely nothing to do with the other. This ensures that a musical group has to have at least one recording member with a continuing right to use the name on that stage in front of that audience that paid to see that group that night, unless somehow that group has a valid federally registered trademark for that name. If it does have that, we're out of conflict with trademark law. If it has a valid trademark, all bets are off. The Truth in Music law can't do anything about that, but those instances are very, very rare.
Thank you, and I wish we had more time today because we would love to reminisce about a lot of the music and bring in Lieutenant Governor as well. He could even perform for us with you, but we don't. But we do understand that you have a short segment of a...
Well, no, we just have a little musical interlude. Hello, Nancy.